Hi everyone, I'm Suma and this is Addison Ames. He is an awakened teacher, speaker, channel, healer, thought leader, and business consultant, as well as executive coach. I'm really excited to have him on this channel today. I'm looking forward to cover his own awakening journey and some of the things that he is offering through his channel as well as websites. Welcome, Addison. Thank you so much for this opportunity.
Suma, thanks for having me on. I really appreciate you and your work, and I'm glad to be part of today's conversation.
Yeah, I was looking through your website and I'm very intrigued by your journey as well as some of the stuff that you are offering as service. But first, I want to begin with your own journey. Like, I know you have shared a little bit on your website, but would love to hear from you in person.
Oh, yeah, I'd love to share. Thank you for asking. So, my name is Addison Ames, and appreciate the kind introduction. Um, my background really is in corporate and international marketing. And so I worked in the business community, New York City. I traveled a lot to Europe. A lot of the clients that I worked with when I was in New York were European based. So I traveled a lot to Central Europe and the UK, and really other places around the world too. And then I worked in San Francisco Bay Area, Silicon Valley, for with a worldwide marketing job. And I worked in venture capital with an impact investing firm, which is like a venture capital firm that invests in better for you companies, companies that are ESG. They care about environmental forward thinking, governance forward thinking, like the way they run their business, and and also social impact. So environmental, social, ES, social impact, and G, governance, like the way they run their business. But they're high impact businesses, which means they care about how they intersect with kind of humanity and the world around them. And so I worked in venture capital there for a while. So my background really was business. And I had early on in my life, I was very involved in church, like conservative Christian church, which I don't really associate with in my work now, but in a way it was good teaching because it helped me understand in a way spirituality, that we're more than just, a human figure. There's a lot more than just that. But throughout my business career, I was always very connected to love and higher understandings of people. I generally was a pretty good guy, pretty nice guy, with kind of like aspirational understandings of what the human can do and what our world can do. And then a number of years ago, I don't remember how many it's been right now, maybe 5 or 6 years ago, I had a series of spiritual awakening events, which were high impact. And sometimes I liken it to Eckhart Tolle's story of how he had his spiritual awakening, if you're familiar with that, and your viewers are familiar with that. He was sitting on a park bench one day, and all of a sudden his worldview changed. He started to see things differently and know things. I had a series of events kind of like that, wasn't on a park bench, but where I call it an awakening, where I could just see things and know things differently. So I had a series of those. And my guides came in and started to work with me at that point in time. And at that point in time, I was working in venture capital, and they guided me to kind of slowly but surely start my own business, which is like the business you see now, my website that you see now, and to kind of dovetail and leave my job and start focusing on my work, which is what I do now. Basically, it's changed over the years, but focus on this new kind of spiritual awakened work full time. So I quit my job, started doing this full time. And so now what I do is I work with people. I still work with businesses, and I'll explain that in a second. But I work with people really at any stage of their spiritual and personal development. So really anyone who is just starting kind of on their spiritual journey or trying to get started on their spiritual journey, all the way to advanced healers, spiritual teachers, and that whole group there and everything in between. So it's a pretty wide group of people that I work with. The things that I focus on are, I call them life guidance sessions, where I work as myself or as my enlightened self. If you want to compare it to Eckhart Tolle, which I'm not Eckhart Tolle, but just a little bit the way he talks from a place of knowing. I have that same approach. So I talk from a place of knowing and help people get clarity, understand themselves, and kind of get free and able to move forward. One of the things that people come to me the most for, and you may be familiar with this from working with people and teachers like me, is that people are looking for clarity. I want to know what's going on in my life. I want to figure out the problems that I'm working on, like how do I get through this? What's the path out? So in life guidance sessions, I can help people through kind of what I call multidimensional knowing, get clarity, understand what's going on in their life, and move forward, get free on some things. I am a channel, so I'm a full body channel for Metatron, who I call a high dimensional being who is focused on or specialized in ascension for Earth and humanity. And some people might know Metatron as an archangel, and he is many things, kind of like you do a few things, you have different jobs, I do different things, I have kind of different jobs. Metatron has different jobs too. So he works as an archangel, but he's a lot more than that. So I'm a full body channel for Metatron, and Metatron really helps people level up, move up to the next level of their existence, and focus on their spiritual and ascension journey. It's pretty powerful stuff. And if people check out my YouTube channel or my website, they can see some videos of me channeling and get some really interesting information, some new information there that's really pretty cool. I also do soul work. And so in soul work, I help people know themselves as their soul and understand their soul journey. And soul work is a big part of what I do because people are really understanding their soul more and more these days. And so I help them by listening to their soul. I can talk to people's soul basically and get information that I can then pass on to them. And that helps them to understand kind of where they need to go. Some people talk about soul alignment. They want to feel like they're in alignment. Soul work, in the way that I can do it, can really help them get there. Timelines work, timeline session, and this is something that's very popular right now. You may be familiar with the term timelines. You may know about timelines. Science fiction has done a great job of introducing the concept of timelines to humanity. It's in movies and books and things like that, television shows even. But most people don't realize this. We each have our own personal timelines. So Suma, you have your own personal timelines. I have my own personal timelines. Everybody does. And what they are, timelines are like holders of our information, holders of our stuff, I say sometimes colloquially. They hold our life experiences, our energies, our memories, our histories, our past, sometimes generational, ancestral, other lives, past lives, alternative lives, and other. And so I work with people by taking them on journeys to their own personal timelines and looking at the past, present, and future and seeing what needs to be healed, cleaned and cleared, folded, closed, or collapsed old timelines, cleaning and organizing current timelines, and then opening up new timelines so people have an energetic space to build their future. And so timelines work is really awesome, and I've seen it highly impact people's lives. Really, really neat. I also teach courses. So I am like a teacher, and I teach courses that are all around core human understandings with new enlightened ideas plussed from them. So I take core human understandings and plus them up with new enlightened ideas. So some of those core understandings are love, relationships. I even have a course that is a premarital course. I call it the ultimate premarital or pre-partnership course, so that you can know before you go. And I have a soul transformation for friends and family course, which is really great. All of my courses are either for friends and family groups or for couples, and it's on my website. So that's a glimpse at what I do. And then I also work with businesses and what I call awakened business consulting and executive coaching. So forward-thinking businesses, high-impact businesses that really think broadly. I work with usually the executive suite or the C-suite of people to help them strategize, make decisions, and bring them new ideas that can help them move into new parts of their business. So, I didn't leave the corporate world behind. I kind of upgraded it and work with it in a new, enlightened way. So that's a glimpse at what I do, and it's really a lot of fun. Happy to answer any questions you have.
Yeah, it's there's so much. There are so many points that I can kind of zoom into with what you just mentioned. The first one I'm interested in knowing more about is Metatron. Like, how did that experience unfold for you? Was it after your awakening that the channeling sessions opened up for you?
Yeah, it was a great question. People love to ask about channeling these days. It's become pretty popular. So Metatron was not even a name that I knew before my awakening, but very quickly after my awakening, Metatron came to me and started to talk to me and work with me. So many people out there, you may even know Metatron's a very big energy, very powerful energy. So when Metatron came into my life, it was like, whoa, what is this? And so in terms of my guides that started working with me after the awakening, he was one of the first ones that came in and was very talked a lot and taught me an awful lot, worked with me on mind expansion primarily, and set the stage before I ever started channeling, kind of started to broaden my mind and get me a little softer, as it were, in my heart, mind, and soul, so that I could learn a lot more information and higher dimensional information. And then I was kind of guided into a number of channeling lessons, guided by Metatron and my guides, where I would sit on my sofa and he would literally work with me to be able to kind of allow it to happen. It took a while for me to adjust to his energy. And we would literally have kind of training seminars on my sofa at home, where I would learn, develop, kind of like launch and iterate, different ideas of how I channel. So, so it took me a while to kind of get going. And so I call myself a full body channel. So when I channel Metatron, I connect with him through mind, and he kind of comes in, I step back a little bit, and he acts as like a full-fledged being or personality when I channel, and is highly interactive. People really love him. He's got a really cool personality. They ask questions, he teaches, he's very interactive, and it's one of the more popular things that I do.
That's so interesting because I also and this was years ago, I also didn't know this word Metatron. I just saw these symbols in my dream, and then I was looking for those symbols, and then I found that this symbol is called as Metatron in sacred geometry. So it's very interesting. And it seems like there are other channelers who channel Archangel Metatron. Is that frequency-wise, are those things connected, do you think?
It's a wonderful question. I get this question quite a bit, actually. So yes, there are other people all around the world that channel Metatron. So the way that I see channeling working is you've got an energy. And I usually think of Metatron as an energy, a really big, pervasive energy not just in Earth and humanity, but in the all. So really big energy. And there's a few others up there like him, but he's pretty unique. So when they drop their energy in to work with people, let's say anybody, I'll start with this. So a lot of people work with Metatron even as a regular person and not a channel. So Metatron will work with people as they need to be worked with in a very personal way. So Metatron to you, Suma, may be very different than Metatron to me. There probably will be some similarities because there is kind of like a core energy or fundamental understanding there. But there is always with humans especially, there is always a personalized touch that these big energies put on themselves so that we as humans can understand, because we really work well through mirroring. When another human mirrors back to us stuff, we understand it really well. We work well dealing with humans. We like dogs and cats, but humans are the main way that we really understand ourselves. So these big energies work in human experiences or personality or ways to be so that we can get it, we can work with them. So just like you have a certain set of friends, like, oh, I like these people work for me. You have loved ones, people that you keep in your life. They may be different than what other people like as well. So when these big energies drop in, they work in a personalized context. So with channelers, I see it very similarly. So generally, Metatron with other channelers is talking about ascension and enlightenment on your spiritual journey concepts. That's a core fundamental understanding for Metatron, but it exhibits in different ways. So I know some other people that channel Metatron and they're wonderful. They do great work, but it looks different, sounds different, and sometimes the messages are a little bit different. But usually at the core, it's about humans get better, ascend, evolve, develop, and you're on your spiritual journey. So the Metatron that I work with, or the personalization, is really full of character, very smart, academic, almost professorial in a way, very teaching oriented, sometimes funny, but definitely full of character.
And what's their core message about Ascension?
The core message about Ascension? Mm-hmm. Well, right now, and sometimes the messages change. You may have seen this with other channelers, as sometimes, over time, the messages will change or evolve. Right now, the core message from Metatron is move, M-O-V-E. He talks really beautifully about this. Ascension is movement. So if we are working on our own ascension journey, but we don't want to change, we want to keep everything the same, we want to stay in a safe place, we don't want to give up our current way of living, we don't want to change, chances are life's going to come in and knock something out of whack. So we change, we move. Metatron says really the elemental teaching of evolution, ascension, personal development, which are all kind of tied together, is you move. You move to the next level, but you move. So don't be too fixed in the way that you are, the way that you see the world, the way that you see yourself, the way that you act or behave. Be willing to change.
And just recently, I saw your email about their another latest message about presence plus knowing is equal to go.
Yeah.
Can you elaborate on what that means?
Thanks for reading my email, by the way. That's great. Yeah. So Metatron came up with this wonderful equation: presence plus know, K-N-O-W, equals go, G-O. And it really ties in beautifully with the concept of move. Ascension is move. So there are a lot of presence teachers out there, which is wonderful, like meditation, allowing your mind to rest, allowing your intuition, your heart, and your soul to arise, like calm the logic in the head, calm the noise in the head, and be present, which the way that I see it is really driven by our soul energy. That's like our presence, our own kind of unique divine, if you wish, or creator level. There's a lot of words source. Are that high creator part of us that is us, is when that is fully alive and everything else kind of relaxes, that's presence. So people practice presence. There are presence teachers out there, meditation teachers, etc. So that's all presence. And that's really getting to know your essence, let's say. Now, we also have minds, and Metatron talks a lot about the mind because, in a way, mind creates. We need our minds. We work with our minds. We have to think in order to get around in our world today. And Metatron says, you can't discard your mind. So you need presence. But the thing that really helps us to go, helps us to ascend, helps us to move, is when we can combine presence plus knowing, and do it in a way which is really coordinated, strategic in a way, and well defined, is we really know where we want to go, how we want to know, and where we need to go. So I encourage your viewers to think about this: presence plus know, you've got to use your head, your mind in a good way, equals go. And if you can kind of live in that equation every day, what I find is the go changes. It really upgrades. And it's a great ascension tool to use that equation as, this is how I operate myself today. Presence plus know equals go. And if you can kind of do that and master that, become an expert at it, you're probably firmly on your ascension path.
That's I think that's a very valuable skill to have. If we can, usually, like for me, it has turned out like that. If listening to that core voice can avoid a lot of like detours.
For sure. And Metatron talks about this too, and I talk about it too, is we're only now discovering the human. We're not only really understanding ourselves. If we think we're fully evolved right now, I would say think again. We're still growing, we're still understanding. The way I see it, the human race is around for a long time. There was a period in time, you may know, your viewers may know Stephen Hawking, the great scientist who passed away a few years ago, said, I think the human race has only about 100 years left to go, and then we're probably going to kill ourselves. And I think it's a good watch out, but I think the human race has a long way to go. We have a lot more development to go through. So if we think we got it all figured out now, I think we got more to go. So as we understand the different parts and pieces of us, it really is more than just presence, know, and go. We're multidimensional. We're many things. We're many parts and pieces. We're soul, we're heart, we're mind, we're energy, we're a lot of things. Science is understanding more and more, going deeper and deeper within the atom. They don't have it figured out yet. We have some of it figured out. So, I really encourage everyone to think of themselves as multidimensional, more than just a single thing, more than just a one thing, but really we are many, many things.
I have a follow-up question on that, Addison. Since we are talking about presence and that inner knowing, and you have this background in business world as well as living in Bay Area, Silicon Valley, which tends to be more focused on logic and left brain thinking kind of process. So what's been your experience with that when you talk to these businesses? How is this like, how are you able to bring in this message in a very logic heavy world?
For sure. So what I find in business is that they work in what I call shotgun speak, which means they talk very fast, they move through things very fast, and they just spit out words. Yeah. So you may be familiar with that from meetings that you have. Yeah. This is that they work from a limited format when they operate in that way, and you could say at that speed. Speed is good. In business, you need speed to market. Speed to market is a big function of success in a product or concept or idea. But in meetings and the way many business leaders think is I have to talk really fast and not really think with my whole being or reflect with my whole being about what I'm saying and the decisions that I'm making. So what I see are lots of flawed decisions because business leaders don't use, let's say, full knowledge that is available to them that is accessed through time. They move too quickly through decisions and talking through decisions too quickly, and they need more time to reflect. So I would say that's the biggest, or one of the biggest things that I see, flawed decisions, because they're talking through things too quickly at a, let's say, a limited level and not accessing their full knowing, which really everybody has access to. And we're getting more and more into that as we understand the human. When they take time to reflect, kind of go within, although I don't always use that language with business executives, sometimes it's a quotient of time and allowing themselves to sit with a decision, think through it in different ways, deeper ways, and talk it out with different people and constituents. So a lot of what I do with business people is help them make better decisions because they have this shotgun speak. And you understand what I'm saying, right? You've been in meetings probably where people just spit out stuff. There's not a deeper level of understanding that's used. So if business leaders can access that deeper level of know, as I call it, it's kind of one of my catchphrases, know, then they are able to upgrade and enhance their decision making. And at the executive level, that's really why they hire people. You make good decisions, right? So, you work with people, you develop ideas, there's all these tool sets that an executive uses, but you're an executive because you make decisions at whatever level you are. So I help them make better decisions, deeper decisions, and decisions that have better ramifications, short and long term.
Yeah, I can relate to what you're saying. And these type of qualities are also falsely seen as like intelligence in business world. And introducing these new ideas can be very challenging. We are still at a surface level, I think.
Yeah, I think in meetings, sometimes the whole concept of the way meetings are run needs to be updated and redefined because sometimes the people that speak the most in the meetings know the least. So it's good to allow people to participate and speak who maybe don't always participate and speak, and encourage really everyone to contribute in a deeper level. So I'm glad you know what I'm talking about because I think that's a significant challenge in our business world today.
Yeah, that's why all these decisions get made usually by leaders who are surfing on like a shallow level rather than people who think through deeply but don't even get a chance to speak in those meetings.
Many times, yes.
Yeah, just recently me and my friend, we were brainstorming about different ways that these meetings could be improved, maybe like a round circle kind of a way where everyone gets equal amount of time to speak. Mm-hmm. That could be an approach. Yeah. But sorry, go ahead.
There are contributors at all levels. And so, equality, diversity drives idea generation. And so as we see the conference room develop to be more diverse, more inclusive, different perspectives, it's really important for executives to allow that to mature, develop, and so that there are different voices heard, different perspectives. So, I think the old days where it was one perspective, this is what we do, I yell it out, this is what we're doing, it's much more inclusive, much more collaborative. Competition is, I think, remaining in our business world for a while, but I think collaboration is really just now coming on the scene. If we look at how business is developed, it's developed pretty quickly. You see collaboration taking place much, much more, but it really just started happening recently in our lifetimes. Maybe 10 years ago is really when you begin to see collaboration, teamwork start to happen. So if you think about it in the overall progression of things, collaboration is pretty new in the business world. It used to be more dictatorial. I dictate, I tell, this kind of thing. So what I encourage is more collaboration, more teamwork. Remember, this is a new concept. It's developing. The idea of collaboration and teamwork is new. It's developing. Allow it to develop. Allow diversity and inclusion to grow and be heard. It's not just a nice idea for HR to have. Everyone brings their own unique voice, their own unique perspective. Let them be heard. Collaborate. So I see this happening. In many ways, I think the Bay Area is working hard on this. I think California is leading the way in many ways when it comes to diversity. So, I think it is growing and becoming more a way of business, and I really encourage it in the work that I do.
And coming back to the Metatron, I would love to hear what their messages are in most recent times.
Sure. Well, I will say this, there's something new that Metatron is doing with me, and they're called Metatron Activation Meditations. Metatron Activation Meditations. And I have a couple of them up. It's a whole new series. I have a few of them up now on my YouTube channel, Addison Ames on YouTube. And they are meditations. I channel Metatron, and it's a guided meditation, guided by Metatron. And it's meant to allow people to calm their mind and get in touch with their multidimensionality in different ways. Each activation meditation has a theme. And there are 3 up on my YouTube channel now. One is worthy, around the idea of worthiness. One is hope, which is really wonderful. And what's the third one? And presence. And so he talks about how to activate your multidimensional self. And Metatron actually comes in these activation meditations and energetically works with the participants to give them the energies and frequencies and vibrations and other ideas that they need in order to be activated and move forward on their spiritual journey or their ascension path. So he's talking a lot about these Metatron activation meditations, and they're really, really cool, very powerful, getting some really good feedback on these. And they're up on YouTube. They're free for people to participate in. He talks about evolved understandings. And so some people talk about the movement into 5th dimension. You're probably familiar with that, the dimensional movement into the higher realms. Have you heard of that, Suma?
Yes.
Yeah. So he works to demystify things, like make things simple for people to understand, so they have practical tools to empower them to move forward. And so he says, if you really want to move forward up into the new higher levels, you know the teaching already. You have the words, you have the language. He says this new higher level of understanding is driven by this: love, joy, peace, patience, goodness, kindness, gentleness, self-control, teachability, faith, hope, and again, love to round it out. So a lot of people, like you were asking, like, what's the key? What's the answer? What's the solve? What do I got to do here? So really, we already have the answers. It's a matter of us kind of figuring out, putting the puzzle pieces together, utilizing it, and become experts in it. So Metatron says, become an expert in love, please. You guys talk about love all the time, but Metatron says, you're only just now understanding love. The other day he was saying, Humans are at kind of an intermediate level of love, of understanding love, but you got to progress to an expert level of love. You don't quite get it yet. But if you can engender and become experts in love, joy, peace, patience, goodness, kindness, gentleness, self-control, teachability, faith, hope, and love, then you're really moving humanity to the next level. So those are some of the key things that he's saying right now. He's saying a bunch of stuff, but I would say those are some core issues. And move. Presence plus know equals go. Move, change, transform. Those are all core Metatron Ascension messages.
Nice. A couple more things, although they are a bit off topic. Have they ever talked about astrology? Their thoughts on astrology?
Sometimes, yeah. What's your question specifically?
Oh, what are their thoughts on astrology? Like, for example, how does it work, and what's its timeline, future timeline? Is it going to be relevant, or is it going to kind of fade away?
I'm laughing because it's a question that I've had from Metatron before. So, well, here's the answer that I got, and I'd love to hear what you think, Suma. Metatron says that it's antiquated and that it's moving, kind of fading away. That's his perspective. What do you think?
It's hard to say. I actually think it may re-emerge. I know I have I'm saying quite the opposite, but I'm also leaving it as I don't know. It's
Yes.
anything can happen. What do you think?
Me personally, I use it from time to time. I think there's a lot of good systems out there, like human design, gene keys. Have you heard of gene keys?
No, I've heard of human design, not gene keys.
Okay, you might check out Gene Keys, and it's gene like Gene, like our genes in our chromosomes and DNA, which are kind of, channeled human systems or systems to understand the human, which is really what astrology is. It's a system so we can understand ourselves. So for me personally, I use astrology from time to time. I'm a Sagittarius, Aries. And I don't know if you're familiar with that kind of combinement, but I do find that I have a lot of similarities to Sagittarius, Aries. I'm very fire. I see a lot of truth there personally. I'm not an astrologer and don't claim to be, but I know a little bit. I have a lot of friends that are human design professionals. And so I've had human design readings, and I see a lot of truth there too. And I think it's really cool and very helpful. And then I have some friends that understand gene keys pretty well and have the Gene Keys book, which is literally like that thick. It's like a huge tome. It's a huge book. And so it's very in-depth, and I think there's a lot of truth with that too. So, and I work with people who use these different systems. And so personally, I say, work whatever works for you. So if astrology, you like it, it works for you, you use it, by all means do it. I don't think it's flawed necessarily. Metatron may differ a little bit in opinion with me. But, again, we're just trying to figure out the human now, like Metatron says. So if we are gifted with these different systems, whatever they may be, whatever works for you, I say use it, enjoy it, and allow yourself to discover yourself and what makes you tick.
Thank you for answering that question. I would also love to know what they have to say about timeline of AI.
Oh, okay, yeah. So Metatron generally says, he uses the term organicist. He encourages people to be organicist, which means stay organic, because there's always this kind of discussion at some level of, will AI replace us? Metatron flatly says this is not happening. It's not happening. So as he looks in and through all timelines, here, there, and in between, it's not happening. AI comes as kind of a challenge to humanity to say, what do you choose? What do you do? What do you want to be? Who do you want to be? How do you want to be? What do you want to be comprised of? Metatron loves and really respects the human very much and wants the human to stay human, yet utilize AI in appropriate fashion. So does that answer your question?
Yeah, it does. So kind of like, please correct me if I'm wrong. This is what I'm interpreting. So it may be kind of, it may challenge us and may be around as like an supplement to what we do, as an extra help rather than replacing us. Is that
Yeah.
what they
Exactly. So it's not going away. Metatron says AI is not going away. It will likely develop, but it's up to humanity to decide what to do with it. We choose, we decide what we're going to do with it, but remain organic, remain human, but yet utilize AI in a smart way that really benefits us. In a way, it can be a great gift if we use it appropriately, not as a replacement for us, but as additive for us and to us.
And how do they see things unfolding over next 10 to 20 years down the line? Are there going to be big changes or like gradual changes? Because I'm asking this because in astrology world, a lot of people are predicting that next 10 to 20 years it's an intense change compared to what happened 20 years ago.
Are you talking about AI specifically or generally?
Generally, not AI specific.
So Metatron doesn't give a lot of prognoses in terms of like that kind of prognoses. I'm connected to Metatron now, so I'm kind of checking in to see what I can say. Give me a moment if you would. So Metatron saying, really try to stay focused on yourself and your own personal growth. There's always going to be times of challenge, but really the next 10 years are going to be okay, is what he's saying.
Okay.
I hope that helps.
Sounds good. Is there anything else you would like to share? I'm sorry, I hope like it was not focused just on Metatron and we got to speak also about your business side of things.
Oh no, this is great. People are interested in Metatron and he's very interesting. So let me see. Well, I would say timelines. I'll talk about timelines for a moment. Is that okay? I can talk about timelines? So, I really encourage your audience to think about their own personal timelines. And again, this is like a new concept for humanity to understand. And this happens many times. You see things on TV or in movies or read things in books and you go, wow. And then all of a sudden human consciousness kind of grabs onto it and runs with it. So if you think about the way movies are, primarily you hear about timelines a lot, in different sci-fi movies, etc. And in the spiritual community, people are talking about earth timelines, universal timelines, and things like that. But most people don't realize that, hey, I have my own timelines that can be ancestral, generational, past life, alternative life, or other. And my timeline's here, and the way that I move into new things is I open up new timelines. And so, whether people work with me or not, I encourage people to, when they go to bed at night, here's a fun tool to try. I encourage you, Suma, to try it, is when you go to bed at night, kind of, allow yourself to relax a little bit. And it's good if you can do this 7 nights in a row, actually. If you like to take baths, take a bath, relax, lay in bed, and lay on your back and kind of get with your soul, kind of do a little meditation time. Just a few minutes is really all you need. And then say to yourself, your heart, mind, your soul, your whole multidimensional self, timelines. just the word timelines, with some intention behind it that the work that needs to get done will get done. And then go to sleep and do that practice 7 nights in a row and see what happens. See what your dreams are, see what you feel like, see if new things come to you. You may feel emotions from some of the old stuff going away and closing up. You may feel some release of some energies, and you may feel some new freedoms. But some people, not everybody, can do some timeline work on their own with that practice. And that can kind of get you started. When I work with people on their timelines work, it's a little bit deeper. We're actually going to people's timelines. They generally see them, sense them, or feel them. And we heal them, collapse, close, fold them. We're doing much more intense work, very focused work. But people, depending on who they are and what their soul is like, can do some timelines work on their own. So that's kind of a fun gift for your viewers to try out. And I encourage you to try it too, because it can really help you on your spiritual development, personal development, or ascension journey, whatever you're working on, whatever you feel comfortable with. So timelines I see as human consciousness understanding is only going to grow, and people are going to be working on the timelines a lot more. There are other timelines out there. We actually are all in timelines, a lot of different timelines. So, people many times say, I want to positively affect all the timelines. The best way to do it, or at least the best way to start, is by working on your own personal timelines. I'm a big believer, if you want to call it that if you want to change the world, you want to improve things, it starts with us. Each one of us is where it starts. So working on your own personal timelines can be very helpful. And then I think the other thing that I would say is soul. Can I talk about the soul for a second?
Of course, yeah.
So do you have a soul?
Yeah.
How do you know?
It's annoying.
Why?
I feel like it's the kind of question which doesn't require thinking. It's just there.
Yeah. And that's right. I think, it's funny. A lot of people, let's say, who are anywhere from like kind of spiritual to very spiritual, are aware of the soul, think they have a soul, and even know that their soul speaks to them. And there's a whole movement away from, the conservative idea of church or whatever it may be, temple, mosque, synagogue, and more into what they call spiritual but not religious, SBNR. Have you heard of that before? SBNR?
I've
Yeah.
heard that phrase a lot, spiritual but not religious.
Yeah, it's a whole movement, really. SBNR, spiritual but not religious. And that's part of the overall spiritual awakening that humanity is experiencing right now, is you don't really need a building to be spiritual. You just need yourself. You are the church. You are the temple. You are the mosque, the synagogue, whatever it may be. You are it. So, and that is driven by our soul. So really the way that I see it, all of those people at a level are aware I have a soul, and it's something that is me and impacts me. You say it annoys you? Is that what you said? Your soul annoys you? Is that in soul work, or really people working with their soul, they can understand what they need to do in life, what decisions they need to make, where they need to be living, who they need to get married to. Your soul is your best guide because it really holds your definition and, in a way, your stipulation. Like if people feel called to do something, like I got to do this, like, you felt called probably to do these shows, like I got to do this. It's probably your soul that called you or kind of pushed you to do that. So I really encourage people, here's another fun practice or tool for you and your community to use, is know yourself as your soul. Know yourself as your soul. You're a walking, talking soul. It's the essence of you, but it's not really separate or apart from you. Your soul is your best guide. So sometimes you can look in the mirror, in your bathroom or the rear view mirror of your car, look in the mirror and say, "Hi, soul, I see you in there. Can you help guide me today? Can you help me to move to new higher timelines? Can you help me to do this or that? Can you give me the answers to my questions? I know you're my best guide, soul. What do you have for me? Guide me." So really the gift of that understanding is we have souls. It's the essence of us. It can drive us. It can annoy us sometimes because it's like trying to push you to do something. It's not what's happening with you. It can bless us. It can encourage us. It can be all kinds of wonderful things, but it is in a way your best guide. Just like your guide would say, "Hey, you need to do this. Don't do this. You're doing great," encouraging. In that role play, your soul can do all those kinds of things. So I encourage people, again, I do soul work, but do your own soul work. Talk to your soul, look in the mirror, know yourself as your soul. You're a walking, talking soul. You're the embodiment of your soul. When people do that, it really helps them come into soul alignment and helps them kind of know they're on the right path. And this is something I hear from people a lot. Like, am I doing the right thing here? Am I on the right path? Am I making the right decisions? Working with your soul, who really is your best guide, can help you to do that. So does that give you some fun things to think about?
Yeah, it is very fascinating. Thank you for sharing more about timelines as well as the soul work.
Sure. Happy
Seems
to
like
do.
they're interconnected.
For sure, for sure. Yeah, if people are interested in working with Metatron, there are some great videos on my YouTube channel people can check out. You can work with me directly. I have what's called teaching modules with Metatron, which are like 6-week courses taught by Metatron, where I channel Metatron throughout the 6 weeks. And there's actually a curricula that Metatron develops for the person, for the individual. And Metatron teaches them about themselves and the universe over that 6-week period. And it really helps one to transform and helps people on their path and really come out a whole new higher level person from those kinds of things. So, I encourage your folks, your viewers, to check out my website if this interests them. And happy to talk to you today, Suma. You're lovely to speak with.
Thank you so much, Addison. And yeah, it's a rare opportunity to talk to someone who has blend of these both worlds, like from channeling as well as this corporate world. I haven't come across many people who are doing both sides of this polarity.
Thank you for saying that. It's a lot of fun for me. And, I always say, whatever tools you have, use them. You have a life, live it. Don't cut yourself off from opportunities. Don't cut yourself off from gifts. Whatever you got, use it. So, that's kind of one of my teachings, and I use it in my own life. That's why I do, a number of different kinds of things. And, for people, it can be very enriching. For me, I don't like a boring life. I like a multifaceted life. So I like to use all these different kinds of things. So I appreciate the acknowledgement of that, Suma. Thank you.
And I'm going to link your website, AddisonAmes.com, in the description for people who want to contact you.
Thank you very much. I appreciate that.
Thanks.